So a number of years ago, Scavello identified that sustainability and life cycle considerations were an important part of our day-to-day practice of developing and manufacturing product. And with that in mind, we brought on board an environmental scientist who has worked with the product development team as well as the manufacturing divisions to really streamline our process and to embed sustainable considerations through all parts of our design and manufacturing process.
So there are two driving principles, how we think about environmental cost within Scavello, within our design principle strategy. The first one is about product relevance, and the second one is about achieving more with less.
When designing these products, with all the different elements that we put into it, we're consciously making decisions that they can be disassembled at the end of their life cycle. So not coating a metal with a plastic, for example, which is not easily recyclable. We will design for disassembly.
A great product example for impact conscious design is a product called Climate, which is more of a platform rather than a one-directional product.
A lot of companies do design for obsolescence of product in order to maintain a turnover of product and a relevancy in the market. Scavello, we take a different approach. We design furniture with longevity in mind. So we are designing the product to be sustainable in its intended environment for a long time, to be used by many different individuals and to really give the customer a good return on their initial investment.
Climate has a core to the system. That core really is about delivering services, delivering power and data, for example, and that core is made from very robust materials such as aluminium and steel, which is made to last a long time. So really that platform is about being installed in the company and more of an investment. So those materials are robust and can last long periods of time. And then we have what we call elements. So they're almost additions. It's about dressing the workplace. So those additions can be chosen on a needs-to basis.
Product stewardship is really integral to sustainable design and contemporary understandings of sustainable design. So initially, the first kind of waves of looking at sustainability with design was eco-design in the mid to late 90s. And it was really focused around the individual product. And it was focused around what we call eco-design principles, which are still very good today, but we've moved on to a more sophisticated approach.
A circularity approach, so removing the silos of design, of transport, of infrastructure, where these fields of expertise perhaps don't look at the big picture, don't bring in all of the considerations of a city. The growing population, the green wedges, the limits of transport, the planning well ahead.
When you move into sort of industry and you're moving into really, really large scales, product stewardship becomes really important because it's that scale of products that goes out across the world. What product stewardship does is it should make companies take responsibility for the totality of what they're producing across the life cycle.
We need to look at this whole picture, the full life cycle of all the products and services that are going in, and that's where circularity comes in. So if we look at the full life cycle, then we look at where the demands come from, what the products and services are to meet those demands, and what the outcomes are.
We start off by teaching students basic eco-design principles, so they understand. So we start very simply with, just a simple product approach, but then we move very quickly to then putting that within what's called a systems approach, a product service systems approach. An example would be if you're designing a particular type of chair, to get them to say, look at what are the common materials that company uses, and in those materials what might be reusable, what might be recyclable. So then they can start to think, okay, if I use that particular type of material, I know then it can be sucked back into the waste stream or can be reused again.
I've worked with a company that's certainly nation leading, possibly world leading in their capture of data and information and material. So they're working with Landfill Avoidance.
We have two predominant services. The first one is removals and storage. So we move large corporations around the city, or the CBD, and then all those organisations that move have assets they need to get rid of. So we provide a Wise Office Furniture program which deals with the disposal of that furniture and assets and workstations.
The landfills today, we're looking at modern mines, so they're resource deposits, if you like. So putting stuff into landfill is nonsensical, if you like, with the technologies we've got. We don't actually need to design products with landfill in mind.
The furniture that we're dealing with is made out of raw material, and that raw material, if it's not dealt with properly, ends up in landfill. And of course, so the program is about how do you avoid landfill. It is very possible to avoid landfill. The way that the furniture is manufactured now, the environmental conversation around furniture has been about what it's made out of. So it is generally made out of recyclable material. Then how's it constructed? It used to be constructed in such a way that you couldn't return it back to raw material, but more and more nowadays you can. It's just a matter of work. You know, it's a matter of labour to really take it apart. About 30% of what we get comes in through here and is unsaleable, and it goes through our resource recovery process, and we break it down for whatever those materials are. Predominantly it's plastic, metal and melamine. So the fastest growing part of the business is the unsaleable material. As little as 10 years ago you could sell just about anything that came out of a commercial building. Nowadays about 30% of it has not for any other reason than you just simply can't sell it. It's not because it's damaged, it's just it becomes unsaleable material. But obviously the most mature industries are metal recycle, everybody understands that, so we get steel and aluminium and copper. They go straight into those quite mature industries and I guess get shipped overseas and come back to us as new metal product. The plastics is a reasonably new recycle industry but is working now quite well. And that goes out and comes back as things like road base, or they make kids' playgrounds out of it. The hardest one up until recently has been the melamine, which is about 40% of the weight of commercial furniture was melamine. But we've now found a way that we can send it off to a new board manufacturer and he can put it back into his process. He chips it, puts it back into his process, and it comes back into the city as new board.
Circular economy, the blue economy, stewardship, these principles all play together to create an immense opportunity when addressing climate change and planetary limits generally, but also social benefits of capturing these resources and materials.
To have a circular economy, you need closed-loop systems within manufacturing, and I think it really is the future of manufacturing if we're going to have sustainable societies into the future.
And this can be played out in virtually all products and all services. If we just look at the furniture example, the material that's mined, so the iron ore that goes into the furniture, has huge energy and environmental impacts, a very high cost. If we can capture those materials at the outset and design for sustainability, then that promotes the circularity. Design and manufacture with end of life in mind is what we're calling design empathy. The next stage is use, procurement and use. If the federal government, and there are policies in place, and state government and major procurement bodies look at sustainability when they're purchasing their product, look at design of the product, look at the location, the energy, the type of energy that's gone in, the type of labour that's gone in, and make their choices of procurement at that stage, they promote those industries which are best for society and for the environment.